off this transition because of how scrambly things can be. Okay, so I go, boom, I end up switching towards my omoplata. I brought my leg over, but before I could get my feet locked and extend my legs and make it really tight, he's already pressing, using that hand, lifting his head up, and I feel myself go flatter than what I would like. Okay, so now I'm flat and we're like kind of perpendicular to each other. All right, I'm looking straight at the side of his head. And this is nice because now I have the ability to reach with my top foot. All right. And I know normally when they press up, they want to lift a leg because now he doesn't have to put all the weight in his hand. He can use his leg to resist, and he's probably going to stand completely up next. Right. So I only have a split second to look for this attack. And all the while, I want to make sure I keep my hand hooked around the back of his elbow just so I don't lose the position of his hand. I don't want his hand to come around to the other side. This is much weaker, and now maybe he can, dip out and pass my own guard while I'm trying to attack, right? So I always keep my hand hooked around the elbow. I see that he's posturing up, and I found the ability to put my foot under the back of his knee, okay? This is going to be extremely tight now, all right? What I want to do is I want to start to extend with this and look to put my elbows and my hands on the floor and scoot away. So I'm going to start to scoot as I extend. It's very tight, and this brings more of like a shoulder crusher vibe to the submission, okay? So, we got there, but before I got this, okay, he already was pressing and forcing me to make a traditional lock with my calf behind his shoulder, and here I am in this perpendicular angle. All right. Now, this is nice because I can find the bend of his leg, make that hook. This sets everything very tight. All right. Now it's hard for him to scramble, hard for him to roll. He definitely can't stand. But me staying on my back, I'm not going to have enough pressure. All right. So as soon as I can, I need to start to roll up, get on my elbow and my hands, scoop my hip back and extend that. And that's going to be my direct finish. All right. This is going to be almost like stronger than the omoplata itself. It's just locked and extend, and we're good. We don't have to do all the work to break them down, swing our legs back and sit up. All of those steps can be difficult sometimes. So in this situation, we're turning something that can go wrong for us into a very good opportunity to get arguably a stronger finish, and definitely one that is very great for Nopi. All right, so for this next one, I want to talk about, which probably is my favorite option when looking to transition the omoplata. I'm going to kind of bypass some of those extra steps and options that we've already discussed and look at creating a new position that I feel is very snug and takes away some of those abilities for him to posture, rip out, be slippery, be sweaty, and give me an extremely tight, strong finish in a position that is very, very difficult to defend. All right. And we have a couple backup plans just in case. So we're going to look at more of a monoplata that brings us to like a spiral armbar. All right. So same situation. Everything so far has been all along the same lines. Okay. I go initially looking for my triangle. I wasn't able to catch it, but I know I have his arm here, so I'm looking to attack the arm, all right? Instead of bringing my foot over, okay, once I extend and I'm starting to get to an omoplata position, I'm just going to slide my shin and my knee up to the back of his shoulder and the back of his neck, okay? Super important that this foot isn't on his lower back because I'm going to force him to roll, and I don't want my leg to get stuck underneath him. So I bring this up. Now, me being on the side the way that I am, it's very easy for me to get on my elbow, okay? All of this kind of goes back to some of the positioning that we talked about from the half guard to begin with. Always being on our side, okay? So then it's easy for me to make this transition, all right? So once I'm on my elbow, now I'm mobile, all right? And I'm going to force him to roll, okay? So I'm going to lift my hip up and drive my knee over to the mat. Now, as we roll, one thing I want you to see is I'm going to make my foot that's down here still on his thigh and his hip. I'm going to slide it up to his bicep, okay? So I can really control where his head goes and make sure I have my submission nice and set. So my leg is up behind. I start to bring my hip up. That's going to put a lot of pressure on his shoulder and force him to roll over. And now here we are. Just turn this way. In a new position, just like this, with my legs lined up directly across his shoulders, okay? So my left leg is right there under his neck and head. I have his shoulder up here with my right leg pinching towards my knee, my left knee, keeping that shoulder pinned, and my foot made it onto his bicep. I actually come just another couple inches, boom. See, my foot made it up to the bicep. I didn't keep it down here anymore, all right? I brought it up to where right now my shin is under his chin, and it's going to make it very hard for him to be able to try to come up on top, all right? If he sits up, yeah, try to press up onto that hand and get up a little bit. See, it's hard, okay? It's very hard. Now, very similar to the way we attacked this arm in that triangle before, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to come around deep, okay, with my hand cupped all the way around to the front of his bicep and make this rotation, okay? This needs to happen immediately, all right? This puts the pressure on the back of his shoulder and really keeps this arm stuck in place, okay? So I have this going on. I stay on my elbow here. I'm very free with my hip. You know, I'm not pinned. I'm not pinning myself, okay? I'm very free, all right? To where now I can bring my leg out, okay? Now what I want to try to do is line up my thigh right where my hand and my elbow is. So now my thigh is touching my fingers, okay? So now I know that if my hand is around his elbow and my thigh is at my hand, everything is putting pressure on his elbow, all right? So I'm keeping this pin, keeping his head down. Now all I'm going to do is I'm going to start to pinch and rotate a little bit. So I'm going to bring my hip through, and there's the finish, okay? All right, so this is a spiral arm bar, very subtle but very, very strong. And you see I don't have to break any sort of grip. You know, the finish is my whole body and everything positioned in a way to put all this pressure on his elbow and also his shoulder, all right? So super key that we slide that leg out. This by itself, it's not comfortable, but it's not going to do the job, all right? But when I bring this through and I position it right where his elbow is, you see this beautiful V shape on his arm, okay? And I'm keeping the weight. I'm keeping my head, my body looking this way. I'm not going all the way flat, all right? I'm just doing enough right there to get the finish, okay? Very subtle, definitely one you have to feel. There's a lot of, you know, adductor, like squeeze going on here to set this all in, all right? Now, what I want you to see is that we have a couple worst case scenario options that are very beautiful for this position. Number one, if I wasn't able to keep him down, maybe he does start to power up very strong. I'm going to, yeah, kind of look to me like you're trying to get on top. Yes, my leg can easily slide over that bicep, and I'm going to have a triangle in the back, all right? Normally, I don't have to do the triangle. I can just lock it here and then use my triangle lock to keep him there and still attack this arm, okay? So I don't need to go to my back or anything like that. But this is just another option that we have, okay? If we, you know, kind of lose them and they turn up real hard, just let your leg go. Now I have this lock and I can stay working on this arm, all right? With that being said, the arm itself, if it was a little slippery and his hand started to make it through my armpit, you see I have this cup right here, everything keeping his arm in danger, all right? So now I can just keep moving my hip through and start to transition myself into a regular straight armbar situation, okay? Normally I would just finish like this, and I know that if he passes my leg over his head, I can easily bite my knees together here. If he starts to come up, okay? My shin, my knee, everything is there, anchored and down, and I can still finish this armbar, all right? So basically what I'm getting at is, from this position right here, this is checkmate, all right? You should not feel yourself, losing this position completely and going back to a neutral spot, all right? There's too many submissions, too many options from here. This should be game over, all right? So we roll them, we switch, make sure this is on, All right. Everything's pinched. My leg comes out to meet right under his elbow. There's a finish already. Okay. Maybe he doesn't power up. Maybe his arm slips out. Right as his arm slips out in front of me, I switch to my armbar itself. Okay. That could be how it ended up going as my worst case scenario. But we know that even if he powers up, we just let that leg come over and we're going to have our triangle as well. Okay. So I can lock the triangle and keep working on this arm. This is game over. Okay. Let's go back to the transition one more time. So remember, we're not taking our foot over the head. Okay. When I get to here, I'm just keeping my shin behind. If I go over his head, I'm not going to have the ability to make him roll. Okay. This can become very slippery and we lose the position altogether. Okay. I need this to keep his head down and force him to roll. All right. So I come back, I'm on my elbow, I force him to roll, and I found my foot up here by his chest and his shoulder in that transition. And immediately, boom, I switch, I have the elbow locked, done deal. Okay. The position has all those backup submissions there ready for you. But to be honest, the spiral armbar for me, the direct one, the easiest one, that's the one that I get most of the time. And I think it's the strongest one. All right. There's no, strong bicep, any sort of hand fight or grip break that we have to do. It's locked. It's done. One of my favorites.